You're listening to Life Repurposed with Michelle Rayburn, where you'll find uplifting and practical advice for everyday living, creative inspiration for do-it-yourself projects, and recommendations for books and resources that will encourage you to embrace your life repurposed. I'm your host, Michelle Rayburn. Hi there! Welcome to episode number 12 of Life Repurposed. Today I'm going to be doing something different from what I've done in the past. And it's different because normally I write out an outline that I follow, and even if you don't see me looking at my paper or my computer, I do have an outline of thoughts that I've written out that I talk about on the podcast. And this time, I am coming to you after just spending 3 hours in the car traveling home from an overnight speaking engagement. I'm super tired, exhausted. I'm still wearing the clothes that I wore for my speaking event today, but I've had 3 hours to think in the car, and I have some thoughts I want to share with you before I lose them. So instead of putting it down on paper and writing an outline, I'm just going to share with you from my heart. I wanted to record this episode a couple days ago because I have a schedule and I have topics and I want to really stick with them, and then prep for this event and everything got in the way and I had to set something aside. And I know that I can just do it a few days later and everything's going to be okay. And the perfectionist in me really wanted to get it done on time, but I had to let that go. So as I was driving in the car today, I was mulling over the thoughts and the things that I've been wanting to tell you. And I had heard another podcast that reiterated some of the things I had been thinking about. And so here it is. I've been talking about procrastination and organization, and I have talked about some productivity tools. I've talked about different things over the last couple of months in the podcast. And I've realized from talking with friends and from my own personal experience that sometimes it comes down to the idea that we don't need another tool, and we don't need another webinar, and we don't need to read another book or get another app for our phone or any of those things. Sometimes we have way more knowledge than we really need to tackle something in our life that we want to get done. And the problem is we're just not applying what we know. And so as I'm thinking about that today and I'm driving along, I realized how many different writer seminars I've gone to where I have collected info. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that in the next section of this podcast. And I've also realized how many different diet plans I've done and how many books on diet and nutrition I've got at the library and I've purchased and borrowed from friends. I've realized how many apps I've tried with tracking and different things related to diet and nutrition. And I've always come down to the point where I know what I'm supposed to do. And there are just some days where I don't do what I'm supposed to do. And that's what stands in my way. And so I'm here to challenge you today. If you've been collecting knowledge and reading books and there's something stewing in your life that you want to take action on and you haven't, I want you to ask yourself some questions about why you haven't done that. And this will probably be the last time for a little while that I'm focusing on productivity and things like procrastination. I have a guest on next time, so we're going to be moving on to a different topic, but I know this is something that I need to say because I've met so many people who think they just need to go to one more seminar and then they can take an action step. So here's what I want you to think about. If you think about the knowledge that you have, I want you to ask yourself, do I have enough knowledge to take one step? So, for example, I'm going to go at it from a writer's standpoint first. So if I've met somebody who's talked about writing a book and they're not writing it yet, or they haven't taken steps towards publishing that book, here's a question I want to know. If you've taken some writing courses or you've gone to some seminars, do you have enough knowledge to get started on the book? So what could happen is, let's say I want to write fiction and I don't write fiction. I don't know how to write fiction, but I know how to write because I've written nonfiction. So I could go to another seminar and I could sit through some classes that explain some of the things that I already know about writing because I've been to a lot of writing seminars. I've taken a lot of notes, and so I know a lot of the mechanics. So the thing is, I could go and sit through a week-long conference. They cost quite a bit of money, and I could sit and learn and maybe bring home some new things related to writing fiction. However, I could get started and put some ideas down and just let the creativity flow. And then I could see, what is it I'm missing? Is it that I don't know how to write really great descriptions? Well, is there a book or a class out there that I could take specifically on writing good descriptions? Or do I just not know how to write dialogue, like the conversation between people? Maybe I need to look for a resource specific to dialogue or conversation. Now, the difference here is that I'm looking for the specific holes that I have in the learning that I already have, and I'm looking for how I can fill those instead of repeat, doing the same thing over and over. So I think if I just take some action and get started, I'm going to have a way better idea of where the gaps are than if I just continue to collect knowledge and I forget that knowledge and I have to repeat it and go over and over the same things. Here's another example from diet, exercise, and fitness. If I read another book on nutrition or study another plan and I decide I'm going low fat, low carb, high carb, any of those things, but I just continue to collect information. You're getting the idea, aren't you? If I keep collecting information, but I don't take any action, then again, I have all that I need. I have the resources. I just haven't figured out what's the missing piece. If the missing piece is not the information on the how-to, what's going on up here? Because really for me, I've discovered in the last year as I've worked on getting healthier that the disconnect was not in what I was actually putting in my body as much as what was going on in the why up in my head. And that was something that I had to explore in a different way. Maybe writing it out or talking it out with a friend and processing some thoughts versus going to another program and enrolling. You can think of some other areas in life where this might be. For example, maybe you want to start a business and you have this idea and you really want to do it, but you think, I really need to take a class at the tech school. And maybe you do. But what if you've taken 10 classes at the tech school and you still haven't taken any steps? My challenge to you is why? Why haven't you taken a step? So think about what it is in your life that you really have been thinking about, even through the last podcast where I've talked about procrastination and talked about productivity, and what would be one step that you could take that would get you rolling, that would get you going, that would take the knowledge that you already have and start applying it so that you can see results. Because ultimately, the results are up to you and the action that you take. So this is going to be a shorter podcast, and in the next section, I'm going to show you practically why I think this is a great topic for Life Repurposed. So for our practical section of Life Repurposed, I want to tell you why I chose this topic. I looked at my own shelf and I have a basket that's been sitting there for a long time, and I'm going to show it to you here. This is my basket full of notes and things I've collected. I've gone to 18 years of writers' conferences and seminars, and this isn't even all of it, because eventually I switched over to a lot of digital notes and I got an iPad and I was taking that with me. This is just some of the articles I've torn out of magazines and things I've clipped and notes that I've taken, and they really are notebooks that have notes written in them. If I pull them out, I wonder if I have one that these are like some ideas that we're starting. Oh, here we go. This one's from 2011. This is a whole notebook of the classes and ideas. Oh, it's not quite full. Oh, there's a Post-it note. And when I was doing this, I was actually, when I got really good ideas, I would put them in a box. I remember doing that. So like there's little boxes drawn in there. When I would have an idea where I think I could implement this. But you know what happened? The notebook came home and went in with all the other notebooks that are on the shelf. And what would happen was time would go by and I get so busy and I wouldn't take action. I have this cute little notebook that was given out by the conference. I took a whole bunch of notes in there. I have a note from a friend in there. Here's some more. I have pages and pages of notes that I've taken. And I realized when looking at this that yes, I have taken action. I have published several books. I've edited books for people. I've brainstormed new ideas. I launched a podcast. I did a lot of things. And I know that I could have done even more things if I had done some action steps that I had planned at some of the conferences I had been at. I'm not saying it was wasted time, but I'm saying that there was some action that could have been taken. And the reason I think this is worthy of being classified as life repurposed is that we get going along a pathway and we have some ideas and we have a direction that we think we need to go, and fear of not having enough knowledge stops us, and so we don't get it done. And there is a verse in the Bible that talks about the person who hears God's word and then goes away and doesn't do what it says is like somebody who looks in the mirror and forgets what he looks like or she looks like. And it's kind of like that, where not only in what I read in the Bible and don't apply to life, but the things that I study and the tools and the resources that I have that are really related to the gifts and abilities God has given me. When I don't take action on those, it is kind of like forgetting who I am and not taking action on something that's a gift that's been given to me. And what can happen is we can get to the end of life or something else can come up that gets in the way, and we look back and we have regret. And if you're sitting here looking back because you already have regret, because maybe you have a bin full of notebooks like my notebooks and you still haven't taken your first action step, I want you to take an action step, because this is the thing that is going to help you to accomplish those goals, to fulfill the purpose that you have been given in life. And so that's why it's about repurposing, finding your purpose and sticking to it. And if you're really called to do it, then you need to take an action step. So stay tuned for a resource. It's going to be a really simple one, but I'm going to give you a resource for how I think you could take an action step. Okay, so for our final section for our resources for today, I think a great action step involves not purchasing any more tools except for one if you don't have it, and that is some kind of a planner. Now for you, it might be a digital planner. This one is a Blue Sky planner that I reviewed, and so I'm going to leave a link for you for this, because if you like pretty stuff, you're going to see that all of the pages have like really pretty designs at the top, and there are some sections in the back for you to write some goals. There's some places to write notes. Actually, I think it's in the front that are the list of goals. And so if you love paper planners, but your calendar is super full of things, then maybe you just need a special one set aside just for action steps for your goals. Maybe it is on your digital calendar, because for me, I put everything in my phone. And what I would like you to do to take an action step is to block out some time. And you're going to have to commit to this and stick with it, because it's a commitment to yourself. But I would like you to look for some time, and even if it's only an hour or a pocket of time here and there, I want you to take that time and look at what step you could take that would get you on track for your goals and the place you want to go, and what is it that you're going to do with the next time you have a chunk of time. So the first one might be just planning it out. I have an hour of time. I'm going to plot out the next, well, let's say we are a quarter of the way through this year as I'm recording this. So even if it's only 9 months left in the year, we could plot out the next 9 months of where I'm going to take some pockets of time to get something done. And by putting it on a calendar and blocking out that time, this is dedicated to my goals, I think that's the first step in taking some action. And then during that time when you're working on your goals, I encourage you to look at the resources that you already have, the training you've already taken, the books you've already purchased, the notes you've already taken, and pull some of those things out and use that as your spark point to get something going. So I'm not asking you to purchase another book or listen to another resource. I want you to take an action step. And I would love to hear from you so that I can hear what happened when you took that action step so that I can cheer you on. So send me an email or contact me through any of the social media channels. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Send me a private message and I would love to have a conversation with you about what's happening in your life. Have a great day and tune in 2 weeks because my guest is going to be author Susan Neal, and we are going to be talking about health and wellness and nutrition and how some changes made a big change in her life and in the lives of some of her family members. So come back in 2 weeks for the next episode of Life Repurposed. And if you would like the show notes for this week's episode, you can find that at michellerayburn.com/12. You'll have the notes, the video, the podcast, everything that you want there. Have a great day and I'll see you soon. You've been listening to Life Repurposed with Michelle Rayburn. Check out tips, resources, and inspiration at michellerayburn.com.